pyramid in the center is larger than the Great Pyramid at Giza. And this is directly where? In the center of the Bermuda Triangle. Well documented. Many researchers have now discovered this. Some researchers also out of Cuba. And there's actual imagery from this, which was taken by radar scans. And the images are actually available. This is published, reviewed work. But, nobody hardly even knows about it. They don't make it public. Now, why is it in the center of the Bermuda Triangle? Could it be possible that the reason why there are electromagnetic disturbances there that cause a lot of disappearances and crashes, could it be possible that that pyramid, which still has its capstone on it from the scan, could be emitting some type of very exotic energy? Okay, which would explain the whirlpool that forms there in the center. Here's something even more incredible. If you take a stick, and draw a straight line through the center of that pyramid, directly through the earth to the other side, you end up at the Uganda Pyramid in Japan, in the other Devil's Triangle. They call it the Devil's Triangle. So now you have the Bermuda Triangle and the Devil's Triangle directly related by a 100% straight line, all the way through the earth to the other side. And you have a pyramid structure on that side, which people dive to in current times right now. But it's also responsible for what? Disappearances and all kind of other things. Just a weird situation. So these two, from one side of the earth to the other, are completely tied together, probably with some type of a magnetic portal. And they both serve purposes of which we don't know, but it was part of this Atlantean civilization that sank because both are what? Underwater. Okay? Just amazing stuff. The more you look at this, the more you learn. So to watch vivid recollections of the gods themselves, sought beautiful beings called the Natura who lived on Earth with humans in the beginning, discoveries emerging from Egypt. Okay, so here we go. So the temple system in prehistory mounted like antenna on the key energy meridians, which we just talked about, which were employed by ancient priest scientists as harmonic tuning forks to stabilize the tectonic plates of the Earth's cataclysmic geology. Guys, what do ancient people know about this stuff? Do you understand? We're dealing with an advanced civilization. We're not dealing with magicians, and so like we would consider a magician. We're dealing with people that really had technology that gave them this knowledge. In other words, they use some of these pyramids as stabilizers for tectonic plates. Now, if the further back you go in time, you realize the closer that the moon was to Earth. The moon recedes away from Earth by about 5 centimeters per year. If you can go back tens of thousands of years, a full moon would almost take up the entire night sky. Okay, our planet was totally unstable, and the actual axis was wobbling a lot more, and even our rotation was a little bit faster, believe it or not. And it was causing a lot of wild storms, stronger hurricanes, tornadoes, mudslides, earthquakes, even pole shifts. I don't know if you know this, but our Earth has had 4 pole shifts in the past, and we're potentially going to have a 5th. Okay. And a pole shift, and the reason why they did this particular thing with the pyramids is because if you look at Antarctica, and you go to Antarctica and you look at the discoveries there, they discover animals there, right? These animals are frozen in time, perfectly preserved. When they open the stomach, what do they find in the stomach? Undigested food. Why is it undigested? Flash frozen. So what does that tell you? Antarctica moved into that position. So as tectonic plates bump against each other, sometimes you have a subduction plate where one plate goes under, sometimes you have a subduction plate that goes above, and one you have one that goes under. So basically, as these plates bump into each other, and then you have a gravitational field that causes a tug on our planet, which like our brown dwarf neighbor that we just discovered out there in our solar system, when it passes around our sun, it adds a little bit more gravitational shift to our planet, and tugs and pulls, and one plate shifts and drops. Now you have an entire continent that drops into an area that's freezing cold, and the animals and everything in their stomachs becomes flash frozen. Okay? This happened before on this planet. And if you look at the volcanic rock on this planet, you begin to realize that there's magnetism in the rock that show that the North Pole was facing south. Every 27,000 years, we have a magnetic pole shift as well. So right now, where's our true north? It's straight up. Well, according to our axis point, it's pointing right now at the constellation of Pisces, but it's soon to be Aquarius. But what you have here is our magnetic north, which controls our GPS satellites, tracking everything else. That is now located in Russia. Airports all over the world have had to redo the coordinates on their landing strips so the airplanes can land safely because magnetic north is on the move. But it's on the move. And soon it's going to be the South Pole. And the South is going to be the North Pole. A magnetic flip is going to happen sometime within the next few hundred years to a few thousand years. It's just part of the geology of this planet. It's something that happens. It's part of natural nature. But it happens typically around this 4,200-year cycle when this sun, this other brown dwarf star, passes by our sun, which is the sun that the ancients knew about. It's not going to crash into our planet or anything like that, but you have to understand, this brown dwarf star has the same exact mass as our yellow star, but it's about 4 or 5 times smaller. But it still has the same amount of mass, and it has planets orbiting it. I'll show you the video about that. Where were we? 24/7. From the mother tongue of the word Jedi, Jedi, huh? And where Star Wars got that from? Meaning the way of the word, or the power of the word. The ancient Jedi, or Jedi, the way it's spelled now, mostly D-J-E-D-I, priest, used the language of light to tune the planet like a gigantic harmonic bell. Much is being rediscovered in the last days in this time cycle. The outer walls of the temple of 𝗪𝗪𝗧, dating back to the age, depict the 𝗪𝗪𝗕𝗦𝗧𝗘. So if you've ever seen the outer walls of the temple of 𝗪𝗪𝗧, it's an amazing depiction of these ancient gods. Who are they? Horus, Osiris, Isis, all the ones we know about. Those were called the 𝗪𝗕𝗏, which we know as the Anunnaki, which we know as the 𝗪𝗏𝗕𝗦𝗧𝗔. They're all the same people. The Watchers and everything else, they're all the same people, just very different levels of skill and ability and recognition. Now, when you look at the ancient Egyptians, you typically see that red disc over their heads, right? That red disc is not our sun. It's a brown dwarf or red dwarf star. That's what that is. It's from their home star system that they're recognizing and remembering and telling us about in depictions, in artistic depictions, in the hieroglyphs. And when you see it look like a crescent moon over their head, it's not a moon. When you see that crescent, it's a crescent of a star. In other words, it's the shadow of a moon against their star. Just so that you know, some of you may have seen this, so like a 1-minute clip, but I want you to understand that what I'm telling you about the ancient Egyptians and the Sumerians, knowing about, and the Dogon tribe, knowing about these stars and this binary system, this is modern peer-reviewed science now.
2 images show you, this is the arrow obviously pointing to it, but there are 3 dots on here. One is red, one is green, one is blue.
Right.
What's significant?
So this is the actual discovery image. Basically, 2 astronomers were looking one little patch of sky very, very far away, looking for exactly this kind of thing. Stars don't move. Planets or anything that's like a planet does. So this is color-coded. This is what they saw on different nights. They're looking for one thing moving. They color-coded it to show that all these stars are staying still. This thing is moving, and the way it's moving...
So this is just one...
It's one object, color-coded.
Is Pluto on this?
Pluto's in a whole different part of the sky.
So this is way out there.
This is way out there.
Well,
this is more than twice as far away as Pluto.
Unbelievable.
It's really important to understand also that the ancients knew about this. This is why you see that I say, they came from multiple star systems. Some from Orion, some from Sirius, some from this Nibiru planet that's talked about, the Nubi-Elish. It just seems that they were a multiracial alien civilization that made its way here to this planet. And when they got here initially, according to Sumerian tablets, they were here to do their job, which was to mine the resources, like I said before. But at some point, when they began to realize that there was no real law here, in other words, they operated under very strict rules and laws from their home planets, because they mentioned it. And they actually mentioned the fact that what they're doing, they would be judged for. And they would be judged by not only their home planet, but also the creator of all. So they themselves believed in a creator of all, or a God figure. Knowing that, you have to say, well, they must have really been, well, the pimp game, because they masqueraded as gods here to people. But they knew that there was a real creator. They acknowledged that creator several times, and they also said that they will be punished in the, when they die, they'll be punished for what they've done here. What happens is, if you go to look at old Western movies, okay? you'll see that back then you can just walk around with a gun, and if somebody pisses you off, you can just shoot them, and then walk out of the bar and go home and go to sleep. That's why they call it the Wild Wild West, right? Well, Earth was a wild, wild west for these people. Once they got here and started realizing, it's like when you're a kid growing up and you go out and then nobody complains, because you realize you're like 18 now, and you go out a little bit later and a little bit later. Oh yeah, nobody's gonna stop me from going. I'm just gonna hang out all night. I'll come home the next morning when the sun comes up. And you go, wow, I can do this now. Nobody's ever gonna bug me again about not coming home. It's that mindset. So they got that mindset of like, we do a little something here. Nobody can see this. Nobody's finding out about this. We'll just leave it out of our report. Oh, we can do a little something illegal over here. We can do a little bit. We'll genetically modify these people over here without permission. We'll do whatever it takes to do what we got to do. And little by little, they became this crazy warring race on this planet. They had escaped wars on their planet via nuclear destruction and everything else. But when Alalu came here, he brought some weapons of destruction along with him, and he hid them in a mountain. Those weapons of destruction were discovered and much later and then utilized on this planet. And others came here with more weapons of mass destruction. The WMDs that Bush was looking for, there was a couple different things. It was really about ancient Sumerian tablets that housed the information about these tablets of destinies, these weapons, and also what a friend of mine who was actually there on site, and I have pictures of, at the ziggurat of when they took out the stargate, or the object that looked like a stargate, out of the ziggurat of Ur. This is a famous Sumerian cylinder seal at the British Museum. You see the Anunnaki god sitting down. He's sitting down right here. Now, he's got the much smaller human beings in front of him, and he's demonstrating something. And what you see above this table that this man is lifting, this stone table, he's lifting with one hand. What you see above that table is a frequency. It's not a disk. It's not a physical object. It's a cymatic frequency that's being pushed down on top of that stone table from the device at the very top. Okay? So what's happening here is this Anunnaki god is teaching human beings the power of anti-gravity all the way back then in ancient times. Now, what's interesting is the two guys behind the man that's holding out the table with one arm are whistling. They got their hands. If you can see a really clear image of this cylinder skull, you will see that they've got their two fingers and like they're whistling. Has anybody here been to the Coral Castle in Miami? Gotta go there. Edward 𝗩𝗕𝗦𝗧𝗘. Okay, this guy had unraveled the sequence of Egyptian mysteries in building and construction, and he built this gigantic coral castle down in Miami, which I've been to several times. He has the same exact device. He was seen whistling and levitating gigantic blocks of coral that weigh tons. And he hoisted all of these gigantic coral stones into position and made his own castle down there, down in Coral Gables, Miami. Okay, amazing place. You don't need a passport to go there. You can just get down there, go have some fun, go see this amazing architectural feat using ancient Egyptian technology, and all his tools still there at the actual, now it's like a museum. And then, you go hang out on the beach somewhere. Yeah, so you can have some fun with it. But this device here, so basically what you see here, let me take this out. You see this Anunnaki man, he's sitting on this, so you can't really make it, it's not that clear because of this expanded image, but there's two heads on this box that he's sitting on, facing in opposite directions. So he's sitting on something that is literally a magnetic device with opposite poles, okay? Like a magnet has two poles, okay, positive and negative. So he's got this wand in his hand. It's almost like an ankh. And ankh, believe it or not, had almost the same exact purpose, which we'll go into that in a minute. But this is a field amplifier. So he's able to contort the field with this wand in his hand. And this structure that's going up above his head has a object at the very tip that sends down this frequency, which is being manipulated between the magnetic field and this field amplifier, which is causing this stone's atomic structure to reverse and giving it, making it almost weightless. Not completely weightless, but almost weightless, anti-gravity, okay? If you go to Edward 𝗩𝗕𝗦𝗧𝗘's Coral Castle, you will see the same exact structure set up, except his was more like a tripod, a box at the top in the corner, And the same purpose, he had a magnetic wheel at the bottom he would crank with these gigantic magnets on it, creating a magnetic field, and he would do what? He would be whistling. And he did the same exact thing. He created anti-gravity. He created his entire castle called the Coral Castle in Miami, an amazing feat of architectural design, all by himself, weighing only about 120 pounds and about 5'7". Okay, amazing. So you got to go down there. If you can get down there and check it out, it's amazing. So that at the bottom, this is the matching frequency to this disc. You don't think they know how to create anti-gravity? I'm talking about they be aerospace companies, the governments of the world, and so forth. If I could figure this out,
He says,
come on. You know, well, the ancients, which we don't have time to get into all today because it's so much more. But the ancient Brahmanas that we're talking about in the Vedic text and in the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, the Indian Vedas, they have these recollections or this information they wrote about called Brahmanas, or the Vamana Kanastra. Sorry, Vamana Kasastra. Yes, it is, Vamana Kasastra. And these were flight plans of these flying vessels that operated off of Mercury. They literally used rotating Mercury to create a magnetic, with an applied magnetic field to create anti-gravity. How it worked really was, when you look at the plans, you take Mercury and you put it into something called a torus, which is a steel donut, basically. Kind of looks like a donut, but it's made out of steel. You have to have reverse magnetic field, so you have to have a field on the inside that keeps the ferrofluid from touching, because Mercury is a metal, liquid metal. You can't let it touch the inside, so you have the field on the inside that keeps it from touching. You have a field on the outside that pulls it and makes it rotate. You have to get the magnet on the outside rotating to about 60,000 RPMs. Once you get that, now you're creating an enhanced magnetic field, and then when you apply atmospheric pressure to the actual torus, you then get this amazing anti-gravity bubble once you apply electricity to it. So now with the combination of electricity, electromagnetism, and atmospheric pressures with rotating Mercury, which is a ferrofluid, you've now created something called a ferrofluid vortex engine. There's also another one that they have called a TR3B. The TR3B came out long before this Hawk. And the Hawk is operating on the same exact technology, except a little bit better. TR3B is a flying triangle, uses a circular rotating Mercury vortex underneath the center of the triangle, wide triangle. But it could have been any shape, didn't have to be a triangle, right? But anyway, but it operates on the same premise, which is a ferrofluid vortex engine that allowed it to move on its own inertia via an anti-gravity bubble with maneuvering thrusters. And this object can move at unbelievable speeds. Now, if you're in one of these objects, you see these things that are moving 5, 6, 7, 10,000 miles per hour. You go, how can a human being withstand those kind of G-forces? Well, if you're inside the bubble, the G-forces are kind of muted. This is how those vessels, how the actual pilots are able to be inside of these vehicles that are moving at these light-breaking speeds. If you've been looking at any part of the news and seeing these ATIP documents released from the Pentagon recently, they're telling you that these things are real, these UFOs are real, and we can't catch up to them. For the first time in history, soldiers that are actually still in active duty have been allowed to testify and state that these objects were up there and real, and we were sent out to track them down and chase them, and they were maneuvering it in ways that we couldn't even keep up with. Normally, it's former military. Everything you always hear is former military, ex-military, former military. This is the first time it's been now current active duty are able to report this information. And in these ATIP documents, there's over 300 documents about this. It's this threat detection system they spent multi-millions of dollars on, the U.S. government, in order to track down these UFOs, trying to analyze and figure out what they were. So if they didn't think they were real, why are they spending millions of dollars on it? But the documents came out, which I was able to download some of them, and then as soon as they came out, within a week, they deleted them. You delete it on FBI.gov. You can go there now and get like 1 or 2 sheets, but the rest of it you probably have to put a request in for the balance of the documents. But in the documents that I have, which I'm going to be doing, making public on my show with Dave Dash called Forbidden Knowledge with Billy Carson, we're going to analyze these documents and we're going to look over the ones I do have, because it talks about crazy stuff. It's talking about using DNA from aliens and merging it with humans. These are some of their tests they're currently in the process of doing. I think this is why they took them down. It's causing a lot of controversy. It was talking about ARVs, alien reproduction vehicles. all these crazy terms that people are going, what? And these are experiments that were actually currently ongoing, not something they were thinking about doing, that they were doing now. And there is a lot of humanitarian issues and everything else, so they deleted those files. You could probably only get on you with the request of an attorney or probably a court order or Freedom of Information Act. But they do have a couple of the documents still up there. I still have the original screenshot and the original documents that I did pull down because it went right away. It was something kind of similar a few years back with NASA, where they were talking about things that were really incredible, like attacking humans with UFOs and stuff like that. And I was able to get that document, which I turned it into an actual binder before they deleted that one. So there's some real crazy stuff that these people are up to, and they really don't have our best interests at heart. The majority of them, not all of them, the majority of them. But but this is amazing. This goes all the way back to what they call the language of light. One thing I said before, you have to understand, yesterday I said, everything is light. Even this frequency is light. Every single thing in this entire light matrix is nothing but light. And it's only depending on the vibration and the speed that it's moving will give it its color, its tone, and its appearance or its illusion of solidity. Solidity is an illusion. Locality is an illusion. Okay? There is no such thing as locality. Once you get to the quantum world, it doesn't exist. Okay? So me saying that I'm here and you're over there, it's actually an illusion. I could take every single person on this planet, all 7.5 billion people on this planet, and take away all the empty space in between your atoms, and I can put you into a sugar cube.
Oh, okay.
All of you, everybody, the whole planet, everybody fits into one sugar cube. We're not really here. We're not. It's an illusion. Well, this is really, this avatar vessel, this avatar body, and the conscious brain that's inside of it, the brain that's downloading consciousness, is like an antenna. So we're like an obelisk. We're a walking obelisk, like the ones from ancient Egypt. What would the obelisks do? Why were they made of magnetic granite? Because they would capture resonant frequencies that were being emitted by pyramids all around the world. And they would harness it and transmit it from obelisk to obelisk. And we're doing the same thing, same exact thing. As above, so below, as without, so within. It's the same exact thing going on, okay?
If you enjoyed this, make sure to watch the next video on Awaken Zone. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell, but you won't want to miss what's coming next.